The Dictionary of Real Estate Appraisal, page 116, Incurable Functional Obsolescence. An element of depreciation, a defect caused by a deficiency or superadequacy in the structure, materials, or design that cannot be practically or economically corrected as of the effective date of the appraisal. Incurable physical deterioration. A form of physical deterioration that cannot be practically or economically corrected as of the effective date of appraisal. Indemnity. The duty set forth in an agreement to make good on anticipated loss or damage incurred by another. Indenture. A deed or other instrument involving two or more parties that enumerates the reciprocal and paralleling rights and obligations of each party. Indexed mortgage. See price level adjusted mortgage. PLAM is the acronym. Index lease. A lease usually for a long term that provides for periodic rent adjustments based on the change in an economic index. Indirect costs. Expenditures or allowances for items other than labor and materials that are necessary for construction, but are not typically part of the construction contract. Indirect costs may include administrative costs, professional fees, financing costs, and the interest paid on construction loans, taxes, and the builder's or developer's all-risk insurance during construction, and marketing, sales, and lease-up costs incurred to achieve occupancy or sale, also called soft costs. See also direct costs. Examples of indirect costs. Architectural and engineering fees for plans, plan checks, surveys to establish building lines and grades, and environmental studies. Appraisal, consulting, accounting, and legal fees. All risk insurance expense and ad valorem taxes during construction. The cost of carrying the investment in land and contract payments during construction. The cost of carrying the investment in the property after construction is complete, but before stabilization is achieved. Supplemental capital investment in tenant improvements and leasing commissions. Marketing costs, sales commissions, and any applicable holding costs to achieve stabilized occupancy in a normal market. Administrative expenses of the developer. Local government development levies. If construction financing is required, the points, fees, or service charges and interest on construction loans are indirect costs. Indoor stadium. A high-capacity enclosed arena designed for large-scale sporting and entertainment events. Induced demand. a component of latent demand stimulated by sources other than fundamental demand drivers, created by, for example, aggressive marketing efforts, the opening of a major demand generator, or the provision of new amenities. See also latent demand. Industrial Development Bond, IDB, a form of development financing in which a public authority sells bonds to fund a new or renovated industrial facility that is expected to bring additional jobs and revenue to a taxing district. Page 117. Also called Industrial Development Revenue Bond. The acronym is IDRB. Industrial Gross Lease. A type of modified gross lease of an industrial property in which the landlord and tenant share expenses. The landlord receives stipulated rent and is obligated to pay certain operating expenses, often structural maintenance, insurance, and real property taxes, as specified in the lease. There are significant regional and local differences in the use of this term. See also modified gross lease. Industrial land. Land that can be developed for industrial use. Industrial park. A business park dominated by industrial uses, usually zoned for manufacturing or distribution uses. Industrial plant. A single location where industrial operations are performed. Includes all structures on the site. Industrial property. Land or improvements that can be adapted for industrial use. A combination of land improvements and machinery integrated into a functioning unit to assemble, process, and manufacture products from raw materials or fabricated parts. Factories that render service, for instance, laundries, dry cleaners, storage warehouses, or that produce natural resources, for instance, oil wells. Industrial Revenue Bond, IRB, a type of industrial development financing in which some or all of the incremental increase in property tax revenues generated by the new development is pledged to pay the interest on the bonds. See also Industrial Development Bond, IDB. Industrial siding, a railroad spur track running alongside an industrial site where a locomotive delivers and removes freight cars. Industrial tax exemption, an exemption from local property taxes granted for a specific period to attract new industries to the community or to encourage the expansion of existing industry. Inferred analysis, a prediction of future market conditions based on inferences drawn from general market information, published data, and historical trends in rents and absorption rates and occupancy for similar property types. See also fundamental analysis. Inflation, an erosion of the purchasing power of currency characterized by price escalation and an increase in the volume of money. For instance, the proliferation of monetary units and consequent decline in the value of each unit. Information asymmetry, a condition in which one party to a transaction has more or better information than the other. Transaction outcomes affected by asymmetric information may be different than they would have been had both parties been equally well informed. Infrastructure, in planning, used to describe services and facilities that are integral parts of urban community life. Ingress, a means of entering an entrance. Inheritance tax, a tax on the right to receive property by inheritance, as distinguished from estate tax. Initial interest rate, the original interest rate of the mortgage at the time of closing. This rate may change for an adjustable rate mortgage. The acronym is ARM, sometimes known as start rate or teaser rate. In lieu tax, a tax that substitutes for property taxes, also called in lieu payments or payments in lieu of taxes. In person am, in-law, against a person, not a thing. See also in rem. In rem, in-law, against the thing, the land, in contrast to personal actions, which are said to be in personam.